And I would like to now pass the podium over to Khalil Alli, President of the ICAC. Khalil?
Thank you and good afternoon to all. I hope that you've had an enjoyable conference so far in this new format that the ICAC has delivered the conference to you in. As regular attendees to the conference would know, the annual conference normally marks changes to the composition or in the composition of the board of directors that will lead the ICAC. In 2019, the ICAC amended the articles to require directors to serve for 2-year terms. This measure was aimed at promoting continuity on the board, sufficient to allow strategic initiatives to be achieved, rather than potentially changing annually as boards did. For the term 2019 to 2021, the board of directors of ICAC faced what could only be described as a turbulent period, with many unforeseen challenges arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. The most severe impact was the forced cancellation of all in-person events scheduled for the period, including our 2020 conference, which was scheduled for Miami. The board, executive, and secretariat of the ICAC were compelled to quickly reformulate the delivery of our programs and activities in order to continue progress towards the attainment of our strategic objectives. It was a most testing period when at some times the unthinkable had to be confronted. As we look back on the last 2 years, I am pleased to say that despite the many hurdles faced, your board was able to achieve the majority of our strategic imperatives that we set ourselves at the beginning of the 2-year term. The ICAC managed to cement its place as the voice of the regional accountancy profession in many pertinent global and regional matters, while working with our constituent member bodies to build the accountancy profession across the Caribbean. This achievement would not have been possible without the total involvement of the directors, executive, and secretariat. To all, I say a sincere thank you for your unwavering support. As a new board prepares to assume the mantle of leadership, I am reassured by the quality of incoming directors that the future of the ICAC remains positive. In this vein, it gives me great pleasure to inform you that at yesterday's annual general meeting of the ICAC, the constituent members elected David Simpson as the president for the next term, 2021 to 2023. David joined the board of the ICAC in June 2015 and served as treasurer from 2015 to 2019. He is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados and of the ACCA. I have worked closely with David over the last 6 years as members of the executive. I know that he has the best interests of the ICAC at heart. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the new president of the ICAC, David Simpson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khalil, and a very good afternoon to everyone in attendance at this year's virtual event. Let me start right off by thanking Khalil for his sterling leadership over the past 2 years, and definitely for his involvement on the ICAP board over the last several years. I came to the board and found him there in the position of secretary, and he has served us well in that position, especially and definitely as vice president and now president for the past 2 years. Khalil now becomes the immediate past president, and I will definitely be relying on his advice based on his seniority and previous service. Khalil, on behalf of all of the delegates and the other board members, I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and I know that you will continue to support us and have our best interests at heart. Ladies and gentlemen, my task this evening is brief. I wish to introduce you to our incoming board members and then to give a quick wrap up this afternoon. We have had a lengthy day and tomorrow holds more content and more networking opportunities for you. I am thankful for the opportunity to serve the ICAC in the capacity as president. I have been officially on the board, as Khalil indicated, from June 2015. But I have been working in and around the board from 2012, supporting the other directors of Barbados, Andrew Brathwaite and Betty Brathwaite at that time. I wish to thank my outgoing alternate as well, Barbados Director Lydia McCollin, who also served as my alternate for the past year, and Lisa Padmore for the 2 years prior. On screen shortly, therefore, you will see photos of the incoming board, and I will give you a brief synopsis. Serving us as vice president for the next term will be our director for St. Lucia, Andrea St. Rose. Andrea has been a director for the ICAEC for some time now, and currently is a partner with BDO St. Lucia and is also an attorney at law. Andrea served as secretary to the outgoing board, and we thank her for her service and also for agreeing to serve in the capacity of vice president during the next term. Gowanbo, the director for Bahamas, will continue to serve as treasurer for the upcoming term. Gowan has been a strong resource to the board in terms of his financial capability and financial leadership as treasurer for the past 2 years. He is currently the group CEO for Fidelity Bank and Trust International Limited, and a former partner and advisory leader for a Big Four firm. I thank Gowan for agreeing to serve and look forward to working with him during the coming term. Our secretary will be Mr. Sixto Coy, representing Jamaica. He is the current director for ICAJ on the board and is the current president of ICAJ. Sixto is the managing partner of HLB Mayor Russell Audit and Assurance Firm in Jamaica, and his predecessor firm up to 2018 were the auditors for the ICAC for a number of years. Welcome, Sixto, to the board, and thank you for agreeing to serve as our secretary as we welcome Jamaica back to the executive. The remaining directors on the board will be Mr. Claude Burrell from Belize, Ms. Pramila Prasad from Guyana, Mr. Michael Lutchman from Suriname, Mrs. Denise Chimper O'Reilly from Trinidad and Tobago. Our alternates for the next term will be Mr. Devane Bow, representing Bahamas, and he is the immediate past president of BICA. Mr. Dwayne Rodriguez, current vice president of ICAT. Mr. Brett Feinstein, who is the current president of ICA Belize. Mr. Erwin Southwell, who will serve as the alternate director for the East Caribbean Institute. Mr. Shani Workman, current president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados, will serve as my alternate on the board. And the current vice president of ICAJ, Ms. Alison Peart, will serve as the alternate director for Jamaica. Also making up our board are 4 affiliate members, represented by CPA Canada. Nancy Foran sits on the board on their behalf. Mr. Jim Naffo, who will be one of our presenters tomorrow, represents AICPA. Ms. Shelly Ann Mohammed represents ACCA as their Caribbean head. And not pictured, Mr. Tommaso Scali represents our most recent affiliate, SIPFA, who we have done great amounts of work with during the last few months. I therefore wish to welcome all of them to the new board for the next term and to thank them for agreeing to serve in those capacities. And I will be sharing more with you about the vision of the board and our plans for the ICAC during my wrap up tomorrow afternoon at the end of the conference. As we come to a close today, I want to thank all of our presenters today, starting with the Honorable Perry Christie, former Prime Minister of Bahamas, Mr. Status Goal, who presented on behalf of IFAC, and he was a last-minute addition as the original nominee for IFAC had to step away at the last minute due to some personal family commitments. Ms. Helen Brand, representing ACCA. It was good to have you back in the ICAC fold in the Caribbean once again. Mr. Henry Mooney, Dr. Fletcher, we thank you both for your presentations, which were very impactful. And Mr. Jim Collins, who can now be seen as an ICAP veteran in terms of presenting, we thank you once again for joining us to present to our delegates. I trust that your experience on Hoover today has been rewarding. I noticed that the networking and community chats have been very busy as you get accustomed to how we can network virtually. Please remember to complete the session feedback forms at your convenience, and also look out for a new feature that we tested today, which are the network tables, speed networking. A few of you tried it out today, and that feature will be activated tomorrow once again. So I thank you all for joining us today. And once again, thank you for registering for our first virtual event. And I will speak to you tomorrow. Have a good evening. And we look forward to you joining us at 8:30 tomorrow morning.